All right, we are back live. What's going on, YouTube? Everybody out there in the community. I hope all of you guys had a great weekend. All right, I wanted to go over most of the weekend's fights and just give you a little bit of boxing news as well that we heard pretty much the last couple of days. All right, now if you were here over the weekend, you know that I did commentary for all three cards over the weekend. We had the Zach Parker, John Ryder card. We had the Dillian White, Jermaine Franklin card, and we had the Regis PROGRAIS against Jose Zepeda card as well. And I was able to cover all three cards over the weekend. So we're going to give a recap on those three cards, or those three fights mainly. I'm going to dip a little bit into some of the undercard fights as well. And then we're going to go over, there's a lot of boxing news that's been thrown around for the last couple of days. So we're going to go over some of that as well and move forward. Try not to hold you guys too long on here today, but there's a lot I do want to skim over today in this video. All right, but we're definitely going to start out with the weekend fights. There was a lot of fights that went down. And yeah. What's up, Punch Quote? I see you. I see you in here, Charles Edward Cheese. What's up with you? Punch Quote says, gotta give Warren for the Ryder setup. Bid so low, Andre passed it over, which he beats both of them. And Parker not as good as thought. A few things with this comment. Well, it's not really a good look for Warren here because his fighter didn't win. All right, John Ryder is being promoted by Eddie Hearn. So it's a good look for Hearn because Hearn is with Canelo and Ryder, and Hearn is looking to set that fight up next. And I'll talk about that later in this video. So it's not really a good setup for Warren in this case because, yes, he did get rid of Andre with the low bid, but there you got to hold Andre with some accountability in this fight not happening, because again, it was supposed to happen earlier this year where Andre pulled out because of an injury that he claimed he had. This fight was supposed to happen twice. And when he pulled out the first time, remember, he came back calling guys out like Chris Eubank Jr. He didn't really have much interest in fighting Zach Parker or Janibek as well. All right, so you got to hold Andre with some accountability here as well. Yes, they got screwed with the low bid in the Zach Parker fight the second time around. But the first time, you can't just like dismiss that happening. Andre did pull out the fight first, and then he came back calling out fighters that isn't Zach Parker and Janibek. All right, so I hear you, but and you got to also remember, again, Frank Warren isn't John Ryder's promoter. All right. John Ryder is actually with Matchroom. All right. So we'll move on from that. All right. Shadow Combat says Canelo versus Ryder, May 6, 2023. And that's what it's looking like. All right. And what's up with you? What's up, Rocket Andretti? How's everything going? Yeah, what's good? The middleweight division is awful. I agree with you. That's my least favorite division right now. A lot of talent there, but no fights being made. But we'll talk all about that soon. All right, so let's start out with the Fabio Wardley fight against Nathan Gorman, which was my personal favorite fight of the weekend. My favorite fight, even though it was only 3 rounds. I thought it was a great fight. This was for the British heavyweight title, which was vacated. And Wardley was a step-up fight for him against Nathan Gorman, who's only lost to Daniel Dubois up to this point. And the way I saw the fight is, look, everything that I said leading up to the fight, you know, Fabio Wardley having the better hand speed, the better power between the two. You know, I thought Nathan Gorman was the better defender between the two, the smarter fighter, the better technical fighter. And it started to look like that early in the fight. All right, so Gorman comes out. I think he outboxes Fabio Wardley in the first round. Okay, goes into the second round. He started to outbox him again, but started to sit down on his punches and start to put some damage on Wardley's face. And he actually was able to hurt Wardley halfway through the round. All right, and he was outboxing him. He was punishing him. and it looked like it might have been a short night for Fabio Wardley because he was getting destroyed in that first half of that second round. And then it got to a point where Nathan started to taunt Wardley a little bit and waving him on and trying to invite him to come into the fight. And that's when Wardley totally destroyed Nathan Gorman, knocking him down in the second and then finishing him off in the third. I thought Gorman, who I thought was a smarter fighter going into the fight, didn't fight too smart after that first round, you know, or at least halfway through the second round. He was fighting smart, but I think he got a little bit too confident. And the fact that he hurt Wardley, and that's when Wardley just went in and finished him off and destroyed him. It was a very, very fun fight. If you didn't see the fight, check it out. It's just a 3-rounder, but it was a very, very good fight. Fabio Wardley stops Nathan Gorman even earlier than Daniel Dubois. It was a really fun fight. I actually might even post up the clip of my reaction because it was definitely my favorite performance out of all of the fights on the weekend. This was on the undercard of Dillian Whyte against Jermaine Franklin, and I really enjoyed the fight. And I think we saw another fight with another up-and-coming guy that's in the heavyweight division, Jalolov, right? Jalolov was on the undercard of the Regis Prograis fight against Jose Zepeda, I believe. I think he was on that Fight TV undercard, and he was able to dominate Curtis Martin, right? Curtis Martin, he got a crazy knockout highlight as well. And, you know, both of these guys are kind of going in the same path, in the same direction. You know, obviously Nathan Gorman is the better fighter, but Jalolov is not too much far behind Nathan Gorman. Fabio Wardley. And then, you know, these are just, you know, I wrote down a little list of some of the names that I'm looking forward to, either Wardley or Jalolov, for them to either fight each other or other fighters that I can see them fighting at some point, maybe within the next year or two. All right, depending on how they continue doing. Martin Bakole, he's a lot further ahead in his career, but I can see that fight coming down maybe within the next year or so. Tony Yoka, who's coming off of the loss against Bakole. You got Daniel Dubois, who's definitely at the top tier of this list that I have here because he's right around the corner from a title shot. All right. You have Arslan Beck. You have Jalolov. Actually, I'm talking about him here. You got Ali Demirezin, who was able to beat Kanafsky in that fight. He was able to beat him in there. You had Jared Anderson, who's on the come up too. You got Jermaine Franklin, who just had the tough fight with Dillian Whyte. Zile Zhang, he's still out there. Charles Martin's out there. Trevor Bryan, Sergey Kuzman, David Allen, he's still out there. You got Johnny Rice, that's cool. Junior Foz out there. And you also have Andrew Tabiti, who's now a heavyweight. All right. So all of these fights are good fights for a Jalolov or a Fabio Wardley, in my opinion. You know, maybe within the next year or two, we'll see how that goes. But they're all good potential fights for these guys. All right. And some of these guys could fight each other that's on this list. All right. I spoke a little bit about this the other day when I was doing live commentary, and I brought up a lot of these names for future potential fights. But we'll see what happens from there. All right. But good fight for Fabio Wardley. That was definitely the best fight of the night, in my opinion. All right. CMP says, I saw Charlo call out Bivol. It's like, why would Bivol even fight Charlo? Definitely going to talk about that in this video a little bit further down after I get past the weekend recap. All right. We're going to definitely talk about that a little bit. Malik said, what's good, brother? Wave, what's good with you? Everything is good. Hope you had a great weekend. Kings asked me, what do I think about Morrell against Bivol? If it were to happen right now, I would probably be leaning in towards Morrell, you know, especially because he's a bigger guy and he's proven at 168. I'm still waiting to see Andre get back in the ring, but I will bring up Andre briefly later in this video. All right. So let's go from there. We are going to go to the next topic, the next fight, and we're going to briefly speak on Zach Parker against John Ryder. All right. Now, if you don't know, Zach Parker and John Ryder fought for the the WBO interim title, I believe. The winner of this fight is going to be the mandatory for Canelo's WBO title. We already know that Canelo is still undisputed at 168, and this fight was for the mandatory WBO fight. All right. Look, the fight was stopped. Zach Parker pretty much retired in his corner. All right, after the 4th round. Now, I was able to watch the fight again. I went back and watched it because the thing is, most of the Dillian Whyte and Jermaine Franklin fight, even though I called it, I didn't score it. All right. I thought the Dillian Whyte and Jermaine Franklin fight was close. You know, I did watch some more of the rounds earlier today. Or no, I'm sorry, yesterday. And look, man, I think that fight, neither one did enough to really pull it out, in my opinion. But we'll get to that in a moment. Right, but Zach Parker and John Ryder, I was able to watch the full fight. And the way I scored it, I thought Ryder won the 3rd and 4th round. I thought the 2nd round was pretty much a swing round. I gave Zach Parker the 1st round. All right, but you know, it could have been scored 2 rounds to 2, 3 rounds to 1, whatever. But the momentum was definitely in John Ryder's favor by the time the fight stopped. And the little rant that I had, the issue that I had with that fight is that Zach Parker, he quits on his stool, basically claiming that he had a hand injury. You know, his hand was broken. All right. And this is like what we heard in the Darrell Williams fight. All right. His poor performance was based on the fact that he had injured his hand in the fight. And not calling him a liar from there. I'm not calling him a liar from the fight from the other day. It's just that I don't like the way he reacted. You know, it seemed like as soon as he injured his hand, he quit out of the fight immediately. He didn't seem like he wanted to be there. All right. I'm basing that on body language. He looked happy that the fight was over. Okay. John Ryder, when he realized the fight was over, he looked more surprised and disappointed, more disappointed than Zach Parker. You know, Zach Parker, where the fight was, everything was on a line. A potential Canelo fight was on a line. This fight was a big fight. He didn't look like a guy that wanted to continue fighting, you know? And that's why I was very disappointed, regardless of him, you know, me being wrong with my pick and me thinking that Zach Parker was going to be the one to do it. Even though he was definitely more unproven and John Ryder clearly had the experience advantage here. He looked like he wanted a way out, and I was just disappointed. And he was losing the fight at the point the fight was stopped. So with that being said, it sucks. But John Ryder, being that he won the fight, he's going to be Canelo's mandatory in the upcoming fight, and that's what it is, you know. So I'm not going to continue to, you know, talk about Zach Parker. In my opinion, I don't know what to really think of him at this point because his 2 toughest fights, he didn't look good in. He claimed to have injuries. I really don't know if this guy is really good at all at this point. You know, you're coming off 5 knockout wins against guys that's not on the level of John Ryder. And that's that. It's over. You know, it's over. You know, I don't know what he's going to do in the future. But for now, I don't think Zach Parker is really that good. And that's that. John Ryder won the fight. And he's likely to be Canelo's next opponent. You know, Canelo's not looking to have the toughest match coming up next. But, you know, I think this fight here is a good fight. It's a decent fight. I don't think it's an easy fight. I don't think it's a tune-up match. I think it's a real fight for Canelo. I think Canelo is going to win the fight, clearly. But John Ryder is a good opponent. I don't want to sit here and act like John Ryder is not a good opponent. I think he beat Callum Smith, you know, and I think if they gave John Ryder that fight, Callum Smith would have never even been in the ring with Callum Smith would have never been in the ring with Canelo in the first place, because John Ryder, in my opinion, won that fight. You get what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts on it. Zach Parker, I don't know what else to really say about that dude. All right. And let's move on from there. Let's talk about Dillian White and Jermaine Franklin. All right. Look, the fight was not a good fight. And for many reasons. Dillian White didn't look good. All right. He looked like he's a bit past it, and coming off of 2, knockout losses in his last 3 fights prior to this Franklin fight, I really didn't know what to expect from him, because you can make the argument that Dillian White has only lost to top tier fighters. He's been stopped by top tier, some of the best in the division, Povetkin, Fury, and Joshua, right? So you lose, but you lose to some of the top tier fighters, right? But you are 35 years old. You haven't looked good lately. If you're talking about his best performance in recent years was against Oscar Rivas, right? He beats him to a decision. He looked good. And that was an impressive win. Oscar Rivas, who was undefeated at the time, many believed that Oscar Rivas was going to knock him out. Dillian White looked good against Oscar Rivas. So going to this fight, even though I picked White to win, I thought White would knock him out. I didn't sleep on Jermaine Franklin because I knew that Jermaine had a good chance of possibly knocking out White because he's been knocked out in every loss that he's had. So I don't know where he's at 35 years old, But the thing with Jermaine Franklin, and I brought up these points, and a lot of people were kind of overlooking these points. Franklin, not really active, fought 3 times in 2019 against some of the better opponents, comes back in 2022 overweight, picks up a win against a journeyman, a guy that pretty much had like a losing record or close to it. He had 1 fight in 2022, but didn't fight in 2020, didn't fight in 2021, all right? And then goes straight to Dillian White. And the first key things that I realized going into this fight after watching a weigh-in is that Jermaine Franklin is still overweight. So a guy that has a hand speed advantage, I think he had defensive flaws. And that's the key on why I thought White would knock him out. He had a clear hand speed advantage. But defensively, he's always been flawed. You see that a lot in the Jerry Forrest fight, the Rydell Booker fight, even that fight against Sauer Pavor, a guy that he fought. I wasn't familiar with him, but Jermaine Franklin, not the tightest when it comes to defense, but he has good hand speed, pretty good volume. I like the way he puts his combinations together. I thought that he had a decent chance, and it was a decent scrap for a guy that's coming off of a knockout loss in Dillian White. But when I watched the fight, and I watched a little bit more of it yesterday, I realized that I think Jermaine Franklin could have been better. And I think Dillian White is no longer as good as he once was at this point. And I think, for Franklin to say that he was robbed, I feel him. He felt that he won the fight. That's cool. It was a very close fight. I don't think either one of them did enough to clearly pull it out. I think it could have gone either way, but I thought the rounds, I think the scorecards should have been close. And I think a rematch is definitely warranted. I think if this was in the U.S., it's possible that Jermaine Franklin might have gotten a win. First look, to be honest, I thought Franklin edged it 7 rounds to 5. 7 rounds to 5, couple swing rounds in there. I would have been cool with a draw. But I think Franklin got 7 rounds out of 5. You know why? Because even though Dillian White had his moments, I thought throughout the entire span of the fight, Franklin was more consistent. He was busier. He was more consistent. He landed more to me. I think he just edged it out. But I didn't think it was a robbery because it was just too close. Neither one of them did enough. I think Franklin was definitely capable more of what he did. I think if he came in lighter, if he came in around 240 where he should have been, he would have been quicker. All right. I think his hands, he would have let his hands go a little bit more, throw more combinations. Yes, I do admit, and I said this throughout the fight, I think Franklin is fighting smarter than what I've seen him fight in previous fights because he probably didn't want to get clipped by the left hook. So, yes, he did fight smarter from what I've seen him in previous fights. But athletically, I think he was a step below where he's normally at. And I think if he cuts down in the with the weight a little bit, you know, be smart, but be active at the same time. You are fast. You don't want to give away one of your key advantages here. You want to be fast. You want to put the punches together. I think if Franklin was at his best, if Franklin was in 2019 and White came in performing the way he did the other night, I think Franklin could have beat him a lot more clear than he beat him that night. Dillian, on the other hand, just didn't look good. He didn't look motivated, all right? And he looked like a guy that's slowly falling off, okay? He looks like that guy. There's a lot of things that Dillian, especially the guy is nicknamed the Body Snatcher, and I barely saw any body activity from him in this fight. How you nickname the Body Snatcher? I mean, I've been watching. This is no hate on Dillian because I've been covering Dillian. I mean, I think I've been covering Dillian for longer than any other American boxing channel. All right. I've been covering him, Joseph Parker, Joshua, all of these guys a lot longer than any other American channel. All right. I've been watching Dillian White throughout his whole, damn near his whole career, probably since his 7th fight. All right. And Dillian White was a guy that used to stop guys going to the body. I don't know what happened to that. You know, he's becoming some kind of, listen, I've seen him fights where he boxed against like Oscar Rivas. All right. He boxed well against Joseph Parker. And I've seen fights where he just completely slugged it out against, what's his name, Derek Chisora in the first fight. All right. But this Dillian White here, this isn't the top 5 heavyweight that I used to see. All right. This is not that version of him. All right. And I think he's slowly on the decline. Of course, they gave him the win. I wasn't surprised at all. Of course, they were going to give him the win. This is a UK fight, and they're trying to line up a rematch between him and AJ. AJ is looking for a tune-up. At this stage, this fight for AJ, even though it's White, is a tune-up for him. At this stage, Dillian White is a tune-up for AJ. Dillian White overall, his name and his accomplishments and his resume is not a tune-up because he's still a top 10 heavyweight. But as based on his last few 4 performances or so, he is a tune-up for AJ because I've seen improvements with AJ where I'm not seeing the improvements with White. All right. So we're not going to get a rematch with Franklin and White. Let's be real. All right. Because this was supposed to be a tune-up for White. It ended up being a real fight. And it ended up going into distance. No one got knocked out. No one got knocked down. You know, I think Franklin got hurt. White took a couple of shots. He got rocked and buzzed a couple times in this fight. You know, Franklin got hurt late, but in my opinion, Franklin was more consistent throughout the fight. I do not think this fight was a robbery, but I do think it was more competitive than most people expected it to be. You know? White has a puncher's chance against AJ. Well, everybody has a puncher's chance against AJ. Everybody at this level of heavyweights has a puncher's chance against anybody, you know, because this is the heavyweight division. Everyone has power, basically, for the most part, you know. But White has become, the longer he's around, he's going to be a guy that other fighters that's on the come up are going to be gunning for. White cannot beat Andy Ruiz, in my opinion. Andy Ruiz would beat him right now. All right. Joe Joyce would definitely beat him. And I think guys like Jalolev would beat him right now. I think Frank Sanchez would beat him right now. I'll say that right now. Dillian White would get beat by a lot of these other guys right now. He would. You know? So anyway, he's most likely gonna go and fight AJ for a rematch. And that's that. You know? Moving on. Let's go down to the next fight from this over the weekend. We got Regis Prograis against Jose Zepeda, which was a very good fight. Very technical fight, you know, and it wasn't the war that everybody thought it was going to be. All right, both guys had a lot of respect for each other. What's up, Gio? What's up, everyone that's joining us? Please smash that like button on your way in. What's up, Ronnie Boy Fresh? What's up with you? I see you guys. Les, Ralph, what's happening? See you guys all in the chat. All right, but let's move on to the next topic. Prograis against Zepeda. Very good fight. I predicted Prograis to get a stoppage, but I didn't think it would be in the 11th round. I think by that point, I think after the 9th round, I felt like this fight would go to a decision because I thought that even though Prograis was winning, you know, I think I gave Zepeda 4 rounds in the fight. Prograis was fighting a very, very cautious fight. And so was Zepeda. Zepeda was fighting very smart. You know, Zepeda, who was the guy that I believe that had the inferior defense. He showed good defense, good timing, good hand speed. You know, Prograis going into the fight, I thought Prograis was faster, the better defender, you know, the better boxer overall. Zepeda, you know, started off the fight pretty good. You know, I think I gave Zepeda the first round, maybe even the second. I can't remember how I scored it as I was watching it. But I know 2 of the first 3 or 4 rounds I might have given to Zepeda. Then Prograis went into a good rhythm. And then I think Zepeda had a moment midway through the fight, maybe around the 7th, 8th round, where Zepeda started to turn the fight around a little bit. And it looked like Prograis started to tire out. And then Prograis reversed it again and started getting back into his rhythm. And I think he had the better engine at the end, and he was able to hurt Zepeda in the 11th round. I think the one thing, the point I was making while I was doing live commentary is that when Prograis hurt Zepeda and Zepeda fell against the ropes and he was leaning on the ropes, I think at that moment that should have been a knockdown and there should have been a count involved. But the ref was a little slow in jumping in. He let the fight continue while Zepeda was already hurt against the ropes. And you can't get hurt like that against Regis Prograis without him finishing you off. And that's exactly what happened, right? But it was a very, very good fight. Zepeda lost, but it was still a very good performance. You can tell even with that defeat, he's still a top-tier junior welterweight. And Regis Prograis got one of his best wins on his resume. You know, wherever you want to put that, that's still one of the better wins that's on his resume for sure. And stopping Jose Zepeda. He's never actually been stopped. I know he's gotten stopped from an injury, but he's never actually been stopped in a fight. He's been hurt. He's been rocked. He's been down. He's been buzzed. And he's lost on points in close fights. But Prograis did the best against Zepeda. Very, very good win. And Zepeda now is the WBC champion at 140. And Jose Ramirez is actually the mandatory, and the winner of Teofimo Lopez and Sandor Martin is the second mandatory for the WBC title. All right. So hopefully we can get Jose Ramirez against Regis Prograis. I know Ramirez has been out the ring for a little bit. I don't know if he's going to want to tune up, but I think if he wants an opportunity for a title, he has to fight Regis Prograis next. And if he doesn't take the L, I'm sure the winner, if he doesn't take the L, if he doesn't, well, it will be a L in my opinion, because I think Prograis beats Ramirez. But Teofimo Lopez against Sandor Martin, which is going to be coming up next weekend, next Saturday. The winner of that fight will be the mandatory for this fight here. All right, for Regis Prograis title. All right. So yeah, I'm really looking excited. I'm really excited for all of these matchups. I was looking at some people on social media. Once we see a fight, people like to jump and go into, you know, whether guys that's like moving up from 135, Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney. I know we were talking about this the other day when I was discussing. What's up, Travis? What's up? When I was discussing Prograis and the possibility of him fighting a Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, guys that's recently moved up from 140 or planning to move up to 140. How would that look? Honestly, I don't know for any of these guys. Ryan hasn't fought a real 140 pounder. Fighting guys like Emmanuel Tago, fighting guys like Javier Fortuna. These guys are not real 140 pounders. All right. And they're not nearly as good as Regis Prograis. So before we go into those discussions on whether they're going to fight champions, Josh Taylor's, the Regis Prograis of the world, or any of the top fighters at 140, even a Jose Zepeda, I want to see what they can do at the division. I'm not sure what they can do at the division yet. So I want to wait and see before I sit here and call fights. In my opinion, I don't think Ryan or Devin or Tio beats Regis Prograis right now. Because Regis Prograis and what he's done at 140 and what he just did to Jose Zepeda is a better win than what all of those guys have done down at 135 or up at 140. All right. And I don't base everything on resume. I know a lot of things are based off the eye test, but even by the eye test, I don't think those guys beat Regis Prograis right now. That can change in the next year. That can change with the next. My opinion might change with the next fight. But we don't say guys like Ryan being if Regis Prograis would do, what Regis Prograis would do to Javier Fortuna? Do you know what he would do to Javier Fortuna if they were to fight at 140? This guy would put him in a hospital. If he fought Emmanuel Tago, or if he fought that first guy that Teofimo Lopez came back and fought, Regis Prograis would have stopped that guy in 2 rounds. Do you know what Regis Prograis would do to George Kambosos? Are we being serious right now? Imagine you finding out that George Kambosos was moving up to fight Regis Prograis. Just think about that. So when we compare, what these guys would do, 140 is a different beast. Just like 147 is a different beast from 140. Josh Taylor became undisputed. Doesn't mean that he's going to do it at 147. You got to have some fights at 147 for us to gauge exactly what you can really do at 147, because it's a different level. Ronnie Boy says Loma is a better scalp than Zepeda. Okay. But he also lost to Kambosos in his very next fight. I hear you. But where is Teofimo at right now? Not when he beat Loma. I'm talking about right now. Right now. Has Teo looked as good since he beat Lomachenko in the last 2 fights? I don't believe so. Has he looked as good? I feel like Devin has improved. I feel like Ryan has improved. Teofimo Lopez, even though he has the best win on his resume, has he looked as good since that fight? I mean, listen, if anything, if Teo beats Sandor Martin in his next fight, and, if there's a window to fight Prograis right after that, depending on what Ramirez is going to do, then we could talk about it. We just got to wait and see. I don't know what Teo is at 140. Does that power, do we even know if that power that he had against everybody at 135 is really carrying up over to 140? We don't know that. You know, I know he should have knocked out George Kambosos, but he didn't. And he got dropped in that fight. You know, but we just got to wait and see. Let me go to the comments a little bit. Les said, I thought Taylor was ducking 147 or something. I don't think so. Just because he's choosing to stay at 140 doesn't mean he's ducking. You know, I mean, he had his fight with Catterall, and most people think he lost that fight. So he's doing the right thing by giving him a rematch. You know, I mean, listen, he even sacrificed his belt for this rematch. You know, him Dion Boxing. What's up with you? PROGRAIS needs to leave Probella, man. I mean, I don't want to say he should leave. You know, he's been bouncing around for the last, he's been everywhere. You know, so as long as he's getting the fights he want, I think if he's getting paid, you know, the purses he's looking for, you know, I think him and ZEPEDA got paid a good amount for this fight. Then as long as he's happy and as long as he's getting the fights he wants. I mean, listen, he didn't get to fight Ramirez when he was with Top Ring. That's the fight he wanted. You know, I don't know what he wanted. I mean, he did get to fight Taylor on the zone because he was part of that tournament, you know. I really know. I know he was with PBC for a little bit. I really don't know what's up with Regis PROGRAIS, but if he's happy where he's at, that's all that matters. As long as he's getting quality fights, I'm good. HMD on Boxing says PROGRAIS beats Taylor in a rematch. There's nothing wrong with that. That fight was very close. Fight was very close. You know, the fight was very close. You know, Ralph says Taylor will be drained if they were to rematch. He has to move up. Yeah, I think after this fight, he should probably move up, you know. He should probably move up, you know, win or lose against Catterall on a rematch. Ronnie says, I think Tio versus PROGRAIS and is a 50-50 fight. And that's fair, you know, but I don't think I'm not dropping a link today here because I'm just going through the news and we're moving on. I'm not going to be on that long today. I hear you, but again, I still have questions about Teofimo because I don't think mentally he was all the way right in that Kambosos fight. And that one fight he had at 140, I don't feel like that fight really made me think that he's a top tier fighter at 140, you know? So, you know, that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to you know, especially after that one day that we were on here and had a panel, I'm definitely gonna try to have one once a week. It's just the past few weeks has been it's been really busy for me. But I do want to have more of those panels and let like more people join because I like doing that. I like listening to what the supporters and stuff have to say. I think that was a cool. We was on here for like 3 hours chopping it up. So I want to do more videos like that. All right. But let's move up to the next topic. A few things I just want to run through real quick. A bit of news. I saw Michael Benson's Twitter. Yeah, Eddie Hearn says he's working on making Austin Ammo Williams against Felix Cash, which is a very, very good fight. You know, for some up and coming top contenders at 160. I think those are good. That's a very, very good fight. You know, Felix Cash beating, you know, stopping Denzel Bentley and Magomed Matiev. Those are good wins. You know, I think he has the better wins on his resume for now. But Austin Williams is right there. You know, he has a couple solid wins. And I seen his last fight against Conway. That was a pretty good scrap. Back and forth fight. That was a good fight. I like the fight. You know, I'm waiting for Austin Williams to step up. But that's a good fight, and I'm looking forward to it. I think right now, I think Felix Cash has looked more impressive in the quality of wins that he's had. But I'm looking forward to that fight. You know, and if they are to make that fight soon, Definitely gonna do a breakdown on that fight. That's a very good fight, good scrap at 160. And you know, I think the winner of that fight should be right around the corner from a title fight, you know, from a mandatory. I don't know. I don't know what this fight would mean as far as the rankings is concerned, but both of those fights is up there. You know, I know Felix Cash recently called out Janibek, you know, saying that he's willing to take that fight. They both had fights against Denzel Bentley, but Cash was able to stop Denzel and take his O by stopping him in 3 rounds, where Janibek went a decision and struggled in the fight with Denzel Bentley. All right, so I like that fight, and hopefully we can get it. You know, what else? What else? What else? What else? Oh, Taylor and Serrano too. All right. So we've been trying to figure out what's gonna happen here with Katie Taylor and Alicia Baumgartner and them possibly fighting. If Alicia wins her next fight against Choi for the undisputed. Alicia is basically a 3-belt unified at 130. Taylor is still undisputed at 135. And then you have Serrano, who has 3-belt unified at 126 at featherweight. Even though Serrano lost the fight against Taylor, that was down at 126. So basically, if Taylor's going to have an undisputed fight with Erica Cruz, who holds the other piece down at featherweight, and if Taylor, you know, if Serrano wins that fight, she will become undisputed at 126. And they're going to have the Serrano Taylor 2 undisputed fight at 135 again, which is cool. I thought it should have been an immediate rematch. I think there's still probably the best fight of the year, or one of the top 2 or 3 best fights of the year. If they are able to get that rematch going, that's good. You know, probably have it in the UK this time. The first one was in New York. If they can have the rematch in Ireland, I know they were talking about that location. That would be cool. Whatever way, I just want to see the fight. I don't care where they have it. But yeah, I would definitely love for them to get that rematch in. I don't know if Taylor's going to have another fight before the Serrano rematch. I know Taylor recently had a fight. I know Serrano actually had a fight too. They both have fought since their first fight. All right, but they're working on having that rematch. And hopefully, I mean, the rematch should be really, really good. But I think the winner, if they are going to have their rematch, I hope the winner fights Alicia Baumgartner, who I'm expecting to become undisputed and win that fight against Choi. I think Alicia passed the test by being Michaela Mayer. You know, I think that was a tougher fight. I think both of them would have fought Choi and beat her. I think the real fight was between Alicia Baumgartner and Michaela Mayer. And we'll see what happens from there. All right. All right. So what else? What else is going on? All right. So Jamal Charlo, Jamal Charlo was at the Regis PROGRAIS fight the other day, and Dimitri Bivol was there. Jaime Munguia was there. There was a lot of people there. It's funny how Charlo and Munguia was there in the building, and they didn't have a direct. At least I don't believe they had a direct face-off while they were there, you know, because that's a fight that we've been wanting to see. That was a fight that they tried to make before, but because of the politics, it didn't happen before, because I think Showtime wanted it to be exclusive to Showtime, and the Zone and Golden Boy Promotions, who's based off the Zone, wanted to have it as a joint event, and they weren't able to come to some sort of agreement with that, and the fight wasn't made. This definitely is one of the fights, along with Triple G and these guys, and you know, Andrade, who's technically still at 160. Andrade, you know, Chris Eubank, Golovkin, Janibek, all these guys that just straight up it's not fighting each other. That's a fight that I wanted to see, and that's a face-off, face-to-face. I saw that Fight Hype actually had a clickbait video where they showed Jamal Charlo in the back in between fights or after the fight with Regis PROGRAIS, with the PROGRAIS family. Jamal Charlo was there, and they basically clickbaited it by saying Jamal Charlo and Jaime Munguia crossed paths where they actually never crossed paths at all. They just were kind of in the same space, but there's no video as far as I'm concerned, unless there's another video that came out where Munguia and Charlo crossed paths. But Charlo actually crossed paths with Dimitri Bivol, and Charlo steps up to it, and he's like, yo, let's have a fight. Straight like that. Like, yo, let's fight. Let's do this fight. Let's do this fight next year. And it caught Bivol off guard because Bivol is not trying to fight Jamal Charlo. Let's be real. You know, first Jamal was like, yo, let's fight at 160. And Bivol was like, you crazy? I can't come. I'm not fighting you at 160. He's like, well, let's fight at 168. And Bivol was like, all right, maybe we could fight at 168, but let's be honest. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real. Because I actually don't know what people are saying about this fight right now. I saw it and I just kind of like didn't think anything of it. I think Charlo just caught Bivol where it was just mad random and he ran up on him. And Bivol, I know what Bivol is trying to do. We've all know what Bivol is trying to do. Bivol has already said that I'm looking to make history. I'm looking to become undisputed. He's looking to unify, you know, and right now, Better BF and Yard, they're coming up in January, and he's looking to fight the winner of that. Now, I know there's talks about Canelo fighting Bivol in a rematch. You know, he wants to fight him in a rematch later this year, next year, I'm sorry. And I don't know if Bivol wants to do that. I know, and there were interviews where was kind of just looking to make history, and that was a priority for him. Not saying that he wouldn't fight Canelo, but that's not the priority for him right now. I don't know where Jamal Charlo comes in the picture when it comes to that, because Jamal, you know, if Bivol is going to come down to 168, let's be real. And I wish he just would say this instead of just not. It seemed to me, based on the conversation, and it seems based on body language, it looked like Bivol was a little uncomfortable with Charlo because Charlo was kind of in the way pressing him. And it looked sort of desperate, like, yo, let's have the fight. And it looked like Bivol didn't want to just say, yo, I'm not coming down to 168 unless I'm fighting, you know, a big fight for me. Like, just be honest. If you're going to come down to 168, it probably would have been for Canelo. It was never going to be for anybody else. That's not a diss to Jamal. It's just in general, he was not coming down to 168 to fight anybody unless it was going to be for Canelo. And being that Canelo already moved up to 175 to fight him, is no reason for him to come down to 168, especially because Jamal is not even in 168 yet and doesn't hold a title at 168. It's just, I saw the video and I was just like, I'm not mad at Maul for wanting to fight, but I didn't think it was a real, like, are we like serious with this? You know, because there's a lot of fights that we want to see Jamal Charlo in, and it does not involve Dimitri Bivol. You know, it doesn't involve him. You know, I'm more, you know what? I actually want to see Jamal fight Canelo more than a Dimitri Bivol fight. I want to see Jamal fight Canelo, Andrade, Plant, Benavidez, Triple G, Munguia, Eubank Jr., Janibek. All of these guys are fights that I want to see with Jamal Charlo. Bivol is kind of random. You know, Bivol is proven at 175, 2 divisions up from you. He's proven there. He's fought the punchers. He fought the megastar. Jamal, I'm still waiting to see what he can do at 160. It's just like, it's like a non-realistic call out. It was so random to me, and it just seemed like Bivol was caught off guard. And he was like, yeah, I'll fight you. But, bro, we know you're not going to fight him. Just be direct. You're not going to fight him because you already told us what you're chasing. Why even entertain something that you're not interested in. Not even saying that he's too good for Jamal. It's just you are not interested in that fight because you already told us what you're looking to do for your career at this stage. And that doesn't include going down to 168 to fight Jamal Charlo. You know? I could see him doing it if he's offered big money to do it, but it would have to be really, really big money. And I don't even think Dimitri Bivol is. I don't even think he's at that stage. I think he really wants to fight for undisputed at 175. He's just kind of stood. If y'all watch, you know what I'm saying. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all seen the video. He's like seemed really non-standoffish. He was just like, yo, this is so random. You're calling me out in front of all these people right now. I don't want to say no because I don't want to make it look like I'm ducking you. I'm backing down from you. But at the same time, you clearly don't want this fight because you have other goals and other plans, in motion. All right. Jamal said, I talked about this the other day, but Jamal recently said on his Instagram live, I think he said he's looking, he's going to be coming back in February, which is good. I don't know who he's going to be facing, but I already made the assumption that it's going to be a tune-up because he's already gone a year and a half without fighting. All right. So we just got to wait and see where he goes from there. But we just got to wait and see. All right. All right. What else is going on? Speaking on since let's stay right there. Let's go back to John Ryder and Canelo. All right. Let's go back to that. All right. Because I talked about John Ryder and his win against Zach Parker early in the video. Eddie Hearn says he's looking to make Ryder against Canelo in a London stadium. They're looking to try to make a big fight out of that. Canelo said he's going to be returning in May. All right. He's looking to return. He had his surgery on his hand and he's looking to return. And most likely he was going to have an easier touch in May and then have a bigger fight in September. My whole stance on this is, first of all, after the Canelo Triple G trilogy, I said that, Canelo clearly won, but he lost like the last 4 rounds, I think. He got burned out and Triple G was able to rally and finish strong, even though Canelo won like the first 8 rounds or something like that. I think Canelo was doing a good thing by having the 4 fights in 11 months and stuff. That was really cool that he did that. It showed that, it's good to see a top tier boxer having 4 fights in a year. That's cool. But I felt like Canelo needed to take a break. And what I mean by that is I think those fights help, definitely having the Bivol fight, having the Triple G trilogy. I think that the injury could have, the surgery for the injury came at a great time because I think he needed to chill for a little bit. All right, chill, and I mean not just from activity, but Canelo needed to be what's the word? I think he needed to be humbled a little bit. I think there was a period where people thought Canelo was just straight unbeatable. I remember when people were saying he's going to run through Macabo easily. He could run through, he would beat Usyk. He could beat a Bridgerweight. These are comments that I'm reading. These are tweets and comments. He can beat cruiserweights, Bridgerweights, heavyweights. It was getting ridiculous. The run that he had, it really made the hardcore Canelo fans believe like some really delusional shit. So not only do I think he needed a break, but I thought that he needed to be humbled as in, yo, bro, you're a great fighter. Not taking anything away from you. You're already you're marking your history here in this sport. You're marking your place in history. But some of the things that people were saying about Canelo was just ridiculous. And I think now taking that loss, and it just brings you a little bit back into reality, and it can make you hungry again, being that you lost and being that you underperformed against Triple G. Did I think at any point that Canelo was going to stop Triple G? No, I didn't. I didn't think he was going to stop him. But I thought that in the way that the fight was going, he should have stopped him based on the fact that Triple G just was way past it in that fight. So with that being said, John Ryder, they're trying to make it a stadium fight. I know John Ryder on paper had a close fight with Callum Smith. I think he won. I don't think he beat. I do not believe he beat Danny Jacobs. I thought it was 8 rounds to 4, maybe 7 rounds to 5. Tops, maxed out. I cannot see anyone giving any more than 5 rounds to John Ryder. Tops, maxed out. I think 4 is safe. 5, even 5 is might be too much, but I'll give you 5. There's no way John Ryder won that fight. Now, I understand the fight was in the UK. I get it. You know, John Ryder, they said John Ryder literally lives like around the corner from the arena where they had the fight. I get it. John Ryder didn't win that fight, but he beat Zach Parker, you know, on a technical stoppage, and he's the mandatory. And if Canelo is looking for the easiest mandatory, you know, I think that John Ryder, even though I respect him, I think he's a good fighter. I have nothing against John Ryder, but let's be real. I don't think he's a tougher fight for Canelo than David Morrell or a Benavidez. All right, he's still a little unproven too. I get it. Hopefully, you know, let's see what happens with him and Plant. You know, because if Plant beats Benavidez, it's going to make it look really good. That win over Plant is going to look very, very good on Canelo's resume. All right. But if he is going to have this tune-up, and I said this the other day, I don't know if you guys were here. Not many people watched this last video that I did where I was speaking on potential Canelo opponents. And I'm going to run it back a little bit, and I'm going to add to it. Ryder is probably most likely to fight. You know, they both work with Eddie. Eddie could set it up as a Canelo UK fight. I don't think Canelo's fought in the UK before. Was the Saunders fight in the UK? No, it wasn't. Yeah, so I don't think Canelo has fought in the UK before. I think that's a great opportunity to have Canelo out in London. I'm sure he could make a lot of money. They could fill up the stadium. That'll be good for the UK. All right, cool. If he's not going to take the Ryder fight, which I don't see why he wouldn't, because it's a good fight. It's a respectable fight. It's a fight to have coming off of an injury, but it's a fight that many of us know you're going to win. But if he's not going to take that fight, I told you guys the other day that I think that the Edgar Berlanga is a good tune-up fight. If he's looking to have a tune-up, that is an actual tune-up. I don't think Berlanga is better than Ryder. I don't think he's better than Morrell. I don't think he's better than Plant, Benavidez. I don't think he's better than Pacheco. I don't think Berlanga is better than any of these guys. But like I told you guys the other day, Berlanga is a Puerto Rican fighter that has a name. They can sell the Mexican versus Puerto Rican rivalry thing well with that. And it'll be a tune-up. It'll be a tune-up against a named fighter, but it'll be a tune-up. If he wants to have a tune-up, the key word is tune-up. That's a tune-up. If you want to have another tune-up, and this is the monkey wrench that I'm going to throw in there today with you guys, have it with Demetrius Andrade. For the people that think that Andre has never done anything in his career that is worth Canelo fighting him. If that is true, then tune up against Demetrius Andrade. Andrade has not fought at all in 2022. He's inactive. He had an injury earlier this year, right? He didn't fight Zach Parker. He didn't fight Janovic. He got stripped of his title. Fight him. If you're looking for a tune-up, and if you're a Canelo supporter and you believe that Andrade is a bum, he didn't fight anyone his whole career. He's been stripped twice in his career. That's more of a reason why he should fight Demetrius Andrade. If he's looking for a tune-up, Andrade should be his tune-up. Unless you don't think he's a tune-up and you think he's actually dangerous. More of a reason why Canelo, if he's looking for someone just to get into the ring with, fight Demetrius Andrade. I think it's going to be Ryder because Ryder is a mandatory, but these are just other options. If he's looking for a true tune-up, someone to fight coming off of an injury, fight Berlanga, all right, or fight Andrade. You know? And I say Andrade, why? Not only because he's been inactive, but Canelo supporters believe that Andrade is a bum. And for the people that's been calling Canelo to fight Andrade for years, because it's been a long time, it's even been since 154. It was at 154. It was at 160. Since the fight never happened, Andrade has never fought anybody. Some of it is his fault. Some of it is him being ducked, right? Like, he's been ducked. So being that he's haven't fought anyone, he's in his mid-30s, he's inactive, and he's coming off an injury as well, make that be your tune-up if that's what you're looking for. I don't see why a Canelo supporter would be against that. All right? I think Andrade is better than what his resume shows. All right? I think Andrade was ducked by many. I think Saunders ducked him for sure. You know, Saunders definitely ducked him. He had to be on something to get in that fight. Then moved right up and avoided him altogether. You know, I think Jamal Charlo ducked him. I think Magia ducked him. I think they sent a contract to him too. There's a lot of people at 160 that just did not want to fight Andrade. All right, but there's a lot of Andrade fights that he ducked. You know, he fought the other Charlo. He's supposed to fight the other Charlo. He never fought the other Charlo. He never fought Lara. You know? So, and there's more fights than that. You know, I don't want to go down the list. I've done too many videos talking about this. All right. Ohio says Andrade has pulled out multiple fights. Yes, exactly why he would be a tune-up. That's my point. He's pulled out of multiple fights. He's inactive. He didn't fight all year. And he would be a tune-up because that's what Canelo's looking for, an easier touch in May. You know? Damon says, yeah, I love it, Wave. Andrade, he checks all the boxes, inactive. He's a bum. Exactly, Wave. But they won't fight him. Yeah. Well, I've heard for years that Andrade was a bum. So, I mean, he's undefeated. He's fought guys. He beat up guys like Selecki and, you know, whatever. I don't know. All right. All right. Minus Martirosyan, you know, which was years ago, but it was still a good win at the time because Martirosyan was undefeated. But yeah, you know, whatever it is. All right. So let's move on from there, man. Canelo versus Ryder. Listen, this is all fun and talks and jokes and stuff. I don't think he's gonna fight Berlanga. You know, I'm just throwing it out there because that's a fight that if they were to go in that direction, I wouldn't be surprised. Because if he's looking for a tune-up, that would be a tune-up. Same thing with Andrade. All right. But he's gonna fight John Ryder. Like, John Ryder is a mandatory, you know, why lose a belt if you don't have to lose it? You fight John Ryder, the promotions, that fight will be easy to make. They can make that in 5 hours. You know, John Ryder is definitely going to agree to it. All right. So, yeah. All right. So last thing, and I'm out of here real quick. And I brought this up before, but Shelly Finkel Shelly Finkel, who is Deontay Wilder's manager, has said that he is looking to make a Wilder Joshua fight after Andy Ruiz. All right. He's been saying this. They've been very Team Wilder overall in general has been very, very, very pro Joshua lately. Wilder has made some positive comments about Anthony Joshua recently. Shelly Finkel has shared his interest in making a fight between Wilder and Joshua. And I've explained it before, but, you know, I'll talk a little bit about it again, and I'll tell you why this makes sense. Both of them have lost fights. Both of them have been humbled. Both of them have been stopped. Okay. There's no longer an O there. All right. There's no longer, and I'm talking from both sides. There's no longer an O. And it's still a huge fight. It's still one of the hugest fight you can actually make in boxing, period. Right. So with that being said, I think the timing is great. I've been saying it for years now that the Wilder Joshua fight will always, always, always be intriguing. You know, people will pay to see it. People will pay and travel to see it live. That would be a fight that would never, that fight, like fans that wouldn't just lose interest in, you know, because it was so much buildup before Fury and Wilder and Glovegate and all of that shit. It was always Wilder and Joshua. We battled for years about that fight. I've made breakdowns about that fight where I've changed my opinion. I've made breakdowns where I said Joshua wins, Wilder will win. You know, I've gone back and forth just the idea of who would win that fight. You know, so I think even though they had their losses, I still think they're both very good. I think losses, even with the losses, Joshua has continued to improve. I think Wilder has improved as well, you know, and I still want to see the fight. I still want to see the fight, you know, and I think they're trying to make it now more than ever because Wilder is getting up there in age. He doesn't want to box forever. You know, he's in his later 30s now. And he wants to get the fight in, you know, because he's already made his money from Fury, you know, and I think that's the only other opponent that he can really, you know, be, you know, motivated to fight. You know, same with Joshua. You know, but Joshua has to fight the option to fight Fury. He hasn't had that fight yet. So this is the reason why. Another reason why is because of the WBC. If Wilder beats Andy Ruiz, he would become the mandatory for the WBC championship again, which Tyson Fury holds. Now, it might not make much sense right now because Fury, people are looking for Fury to have an undisputed match with Alexander Usyk, which has to happen. You know, which has to happen. All right, so hopefully they work that out for the next fight. You know, hopefully no mandatories get in the way of that. But it makes sense based on timing for them to make that fight if Fury, let's say Fury and Usyk doesn't happen. And Wilder can't get into the ring with Joshua because he's scheduled for another fight. Would he go for another Fury Wilder 4? Yeah, I don't think that's their first option, but it's another option to have out there. I don't want that, but it's another option. So they're putting themselves in position to take on other fights just in case. And if Fury is to beat Alexander Usyk, or if Usyk is to beat Tyson Fury, he will be the mandatory anyway for the WBC if he is to beat Ruiz. So whoever is holding the title, he would be a mandatory for an undisputed fight, right? Or at least for unification. That's if the winner doesn't get stripped, right? And that's basically on the Usyk side because Usyk, you know, he has mandatory obligations and stuff. So we'll see. All right, so it's good to hear. I don't know. I do believe, and I've never completely lost hope. Same thing. It's not like Bud and Spence where I kind of lost hope in that fight. I still think it can happen, but I never completely lost hope in Wilder and Joshua. One thing I said years ago is that it may take for them to lose their fights for these guys to fight each other. And it didn't happen when they were undefeated. I know most of us want them to fight each other when they're undefeated in their prime, or when the age is younger. A lot of people have said that about Crawford. A lot of people feel that Spence and his team was trying to age Crawford out by holding off all these years. So there's always that argument of time of when the fights happen. Same thing with Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. We wanted it to happen years ago, but it happened years later. It happened 5 years later from when we were really, demanding that fight, or started really demanding that fight. So with that being said, it's not the perfect time, but I think it's still a good time to have that fight, especially if it happens in 2023. If not 2023, it should happen very, very early in 2024. All right. All right, so that's my views on that, man. I appreciate you guys supporting. Please hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. All right. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new. I gotta get on out of here, but I will be back. Before I leave, there are fights this weekend. Tyson Fury is going to be fighting Derek Chisora 3. I will do a breakdown for that, so be on the lookout for that. And also, we have Roman Gonzalez against Juan Francisco Estrada 3 as well this weekend, and I will be doing a breakdown for that. Hopefully I could get both breakdowns out by tomorrow. It won't take long for Fury and Chisora, but Estrada and Chocolatito, be on the lookout for both breakdowns. I'm gonna put those out, and the following week we're gonna try to get Crawford, Avanish, and Teofimo Lopez and No Martin breakdowns out there as well. All right. So anyway, see you guys on the next one. Please, again, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, share the video, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.